When I was 22, I got the idea to start a husband journal, which is essentially a journal that I would write little notes to my future husband. So I bought this journal. It was a beautiful journal, and it kind of just sat on my desk for a couple months, and then finally I picked it up and started writing in it. This journal goes through life with me, literally 5 years of just life. Then I meet Grant, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the guy that's gonna get the journal. And so I start writing in it with like sincere purpose, and it was just a beautiful thing. And then we get engaged. We start planning our wedding, and I remember the journal, because I hadn't written in it in a while, and I was like, okay, well, this is awesome. Like, Grant's gonna get this journal. So I start reading it with like a different view. I'm like, wow, I was going through some junk over the last 5 years. And that's just what happens when you're waiting for the right person. You go through some stuff, and God taught me some serious, beautiful moments, and just amazing things I would never trade for anything. And so this journal captured a lot of that vulnerability, but at the same time, it's just like a lot of junk that I didn't want Grant reading. And so I'm like, what do I do with this journal? Like, I put so much time and effort into it over these years, and it's honest stuff, and I want him to have it. But at the same time, I don't want to be reliving a bunch of junk that I'm over, and I don't want to, dig up the past like that. So anyway, the wedding starts getting closer and closer, and I'm like, what do I do with this journal? So my friend Tracy is in my house, and we're getting ready for the wedding, and I tell her about the journal, and I'm like, so should I just like rip chunks out that I don't want him to read? Should I take a marker to every name? And that's a lot of work, and it doesn't really seem very genuine. So now I'm like, maybe this journal thing was a really bad idea. But then I'm like, no, this thing was a really huge blessing. And when I read back, I'm like, whoa, God has pulled me through some stuff, and it's just a great reminder. So anyway, we're going back and forth. So then she's like, well, what about the first page? What do we got going on the first page? And I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. Let me read the first page and see if it's generic enough that maybe I could just give that to him. So it says, where do I even begin? I bought this journal about 3 months ago, and I never quite felt right starting to write to you, but now it's time. God is encouraging me not only to talk to him about you, but to also talk to you. I'm excited and anxious to see where this journal to my future husband will take me. One day this will be yours, and with that in mind, my words will be filled with God's truth. So back to my original question, where do I even begin? God put the amazing desire in my heart to be married, to one day be your wife. I sometimes forget that he doesn't always bless everyone with such a desire. Therefore, I believe God will bless me with a husband, with you, and you will be my partner and my spiritual leader. It's appropriate to tell you that I've been praying for you the past year. I prayed that you are growing and maturing and waiting for me. Thinking about that brings tears to my eyes. I pray so hard for God to help me to guard my heart so that it's ready for you. God is definitely holding up his end of the agreement. It surely is a daily struggle, but I want to be obedient to God, and I want him to be proud of me. I pray that we will both always be watchful and on guard against temptation. So I'm like, yeah, that's generic enough. I can rip this out and just give it to Grant. So I go to do that. And then I look at the date. And it's November 1st, 2009. And my wedding date was November 1st, 2015. And that's when I lost it. Just started bawling my eyes out, because God is so faithful. You cannot make this stuff up. He has the best timeline, the best storytelling. He is amazing. And in that moment, I was just so humbled, and I can't even put it into words. That was such a gift, I may not have known what to do with the journal, but God was like, hey, check the date. I mean, this journal had been sitting on my desk, on my nightstand for years, and even after I set the date with Grant, it was sitting there, and I had written in it since being engaged. I just never went back to the beginning and looked at where I started. And sometimes you have to remember where you start things and see how far you've come. And so Tracy and I just cried and just shared this beautiful moment that God had clearly blessed me with. And so anyway, I did rip this page out and I gave it to Grant, and it's just something that I will forever cherish. And no, I haven't given him the journal yet. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with the rest of these pages, but the beginning is what matters. And how you begin your journey is a humble thing. And no, Grant would never judge me for my past, and neither would I, nor would I towards him. But it's still a bunch of junk that you don't really want to unravel if you don't have to. So that is what happened on our wedding day. That's how our day began, and it was such a beautiful reminder of how God is in control of it all. 6 years. It took 6 years for God to bring Grant to me, but I was not ready on November 1st, 2009. I wasn't ready, but God knew that. So that's my story.